guys, and welcome to Faithworks Designs. I'm Faith, and today we're doing a really interesting video. I have made these G-Tube bags for a couple of years now for one of my customers whose daughter needed a book bag because the book bags that are out there, the tube kept getting like jammed up into it. I guess it was feeding it through a grommet or something like that, and it kept getting stuck and jammed, and her alarm kept going off all the time, and she was really frustrated. So she contacted me and asked me if I could help her, and I said, of course, we will figure it out. We're a couple years down the road now, and 3 babies that need these book bags. They are so cute. So we have one for Big Sis, and what makes these book bags different from, say, a regular book bag is that the very front is going to have our little belt. This belt right here goes across their tummy to kind of keep the book bag on, because apparently it's really difficult to keep their book bags on. They just want to roll around the house. So you do have your regular book bag straps, but then we have the little tummy band. And then her biggest thing was the cord getting kind of caught up. So she wanted to have this opening right here so that the zipper could go down but not all the way closed, just so that you can open it up and have the cord free flowing through here. It wasn't like it was getting caught up. She said that right there, the very first book bag that I ever sent to her, she was just like night and day. She's like, I can finally just let my kid run around the house and do what they need to do without having to constantly stop them and try and figure out how to get their cord to stop yelling at her. So this is the big book bag. We're not doing that one today. We are going to be doing the smaller version. Now it's going to be the same exact thing, except for the bigger book bag has like a little container on the back. I'm not sure what she needs that for just yet, but she asked for it, so we did it. The smaller book bag is going to be a little simpler. So what we're going to do is we're going to take measurements for her straps. Now, granted, this is at the tightest, okay? It adjusts. So it can get bigger, smaller, whatever you need. You guys see the back of that? Wait till you see the front. It's cute. So for her little one, we needed to do Velcro to go across the top so that we can keep this belt together. But then we also added snaps. Now her oldest was a little escape artist, so we had to start adding snaps to it so that they could snap closed and they could Velcro, and it was a little harder for her to get it off and take off. On the back, it is just simple and plain. I put the little Pikachu on the back so when you see her and her sister running around, they can both look alike from the back. I thought it was cute. On the inside for this one, now you can do whatever you need to do. If your baby needs some extra something, then you do you and do what you need to do and add anything that you need to add. But for my mama, what she needed me to do was put these little flaps on the inside, and that's where her back is. And what they do is they cross over top of each other like this, and then that's where the nutrient bag cap or lid goes, and then the nutrient bag just kind of hangs here and does its little thing. So that is why we didn't put anything else on the other side. I didn't want anything to get caught up with the bag. If there's anything else that your baby needs, then you can add it. If you need any more pockets or anything like that, go for it. And I don't know if it's like a standard that the tubes go out to the right, facing away from your child. The tube is on the right. You really need to pay attention to that when you're going to do all of your measurements and everything so that you can make sure that you've got the zipper facing on the correct side. So, let's get started. So the very first thing you're going to need is a lot of measurements, okay? Don't get scared, don't get freaked out. We're just going to take some measurements, okay? Very first measurement that we're going to take is along the back. So from the back of the neck, wherever you want the book bag to start, to the end of the torso on the back, wherever you want it to land, that's your first measurement. That's going to be the height of your book bag. Then you're going to need to know the width. So measure across your child's back and figure out where it is. It needs to end on the side. You know, your mom used to help you pick out pants, and you had to find where the your side seams were. That's kind of where it needs to be, so that your belt from the front, we'll start from there. The next measurement that you're going to need is going to be from your side belt around your tummy. So from around their tummy, you do want it to kind of overlap so that you have that belly band and that it's not going to go anywhere. Her mom, we make them a little bit extra just so that she can kind of grow into it, make it smaller, make it bigger, whatever we need to do. So you need to know the exact measurement of where the book bag is going to start versus over the tummy and crossing each other. The next thing that you're going to need to know is how thick you want your bands to be. So the bands that are on the side here, you need to figure out what would be good for making sure that there's plenty of room underneath their armpit, just their belly, wherever that's going to be. Then from where the belly band is going to be, you need to measure up to your shoulder. So from your shoulder to wherever that belly band is going to end, you're going to need to get that. That is going to be your strap measurement, and they're going to meet together. Now always make sure that you add seam allowance. You're going to need about an extra ½ inch because you're going to have a seam allowance here going in 1/4 inch, and you're going to have 1/4 inch going in here. So just add ½ inch to whatever the measurement is. You're also going to need to figure out how wide you want your straps to be. Normally like 2.5 finished, so 3 inches is pretty good width. You're also going to want to do a measurement from their neck, where you want the straps to go. So how far in between their neck do you want those straps to start out? So right in between here, you would want to measure and see how far in between their shoulders that you would want their bag. How far in from the side of your book bag, there we go, from the side of your book bag to where you want your straps to start. So let's say here's my strap, you know where it's going to be on the neck, and then you want to go from the book bag to where you want the strap to kind of start going down right here. You want to measure what that's going to be. That was a lot of measurements, and we're going to go over everything in the video, I promise. I am also going to be putting the measurements and the pictures that she sent me, because she's a better artist than I am, and that way you guys can use that for a reference. Every child is going to be different, so every measurement is going to be different. You're going to have to just figure this out. I would definitely use a cheaper material and make a mock-up first, just because you know you've never done this before, and it's gonna be a test run for your first time making it. So I would definitely don't do it with your cutesy fabric first. You know, get an old bed sheet and try this out first. And if everything works out the way that you want it, then go get the cute fabric and make the bag that you need. Also, you don't have to use the foam. In the video I use foam, but you don't have to. The foam is just an extra cushion. You know, if they fall down on the floor or, you know, sit down real fast, you don't want the machinery to get broken or damaged in any kind of way. Plus, it's up on their backs. So you kind of want to be able to have some cushion there just in case something were to happen. There's also a fabric called waterproof canvas that you can get. Hobby Lobby carries it. There's plenty of places online that carries it. If you'll Google it up, I would highly recommend using that in the bag instead of, say, a cotton as a lining, because if any of those nutrient bags burst or something leaks, it would be an easier fabric to kind of wipe away. Plus, it's waterproof so that you won't end up with it all over the place. Now, it will seep through the zippers. There's just no getting around it. But it'll kind of calm some of that storm. So those are my recommendations. Definitely get foam. You don't have to. Waterproof canvas. Let's see what else. Get a good Velcro and also some snaps. I use Cam Snaps. You can Google them. They have a site where they sell a ton of snaps and the tools to be able to use the snaps. So go on there and check them out. You can get color-coded ones and get real cute. It's up to you. I think that's all my recommendations. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so the very first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get some paper. I have some freezer paper that I used for many other projects, and it's huge. That way I can get the shape and the size that I want. The second book bag is a little bit smaller, so went ahead and cut it down to what from the bottom to her shoulders and then from across her shoulders. This one is going to be a tiny one. Alright, so once you get that done, you're going to take your regular rectangle you got there, and if you want, it's up to you. You can draw this, you can freehand it, you can do whatever you need to do to make it the shape that you want. I'm just going to give it just a tiniest little curve right there at the top so that it has more of like that book bag look. So now that my pattern's done, what I need to do next is get all of my materials that I'm going to need to finish this project. Number one, I'm going to need some fabric, and she wanted hers to match her sister, so I'm going to be cutting this out and then kind of adding some material around it so that it'll be big enough to fit on the main panel. Once I have that fabric ready, we're going to, and this is completely and totally optional, but I found that the bags keep their shape a lot better when I use foam. So I've got, I don't even know, I'll put it up on the screen. It's the one-sided foam fusible stabilizer, and I just cut it out and then I kind of like base stitch well, you can iron or you can base stitch the foam to your outer fabrics. I'm not doing this to the lining, I'm just doing it to the outer fabrics. Alright, so let me go get this cut out and then I'll show you guys what I do next. We have got our front and back pieces. I took my template and I laid it out on top. If you have just like one panel that you're trying to use, this will be so much easier, but I had to add a little bit of fabric to the bottom and the top so that I could use the panel that she actually wanted. So I went ahead and I cut that out. The next thing that I did was I took this panel and I grabbed some of the foam that I showed you guys earlier. I put the panel on top, wrong side to the foam, and then I grabbed some waterproof canvas. This is going to be my lining. So I have my waterproof canvas with right side out, wrong side to the foam. Then what I did was I went ahead and I base stitched all the way around so that those three layers are all together. So top layer, foam, and then my lining. I did the same thing with my back panel. This is going to be on the very, very back of the book bag. Then I've got my foam, and then I've got my waterproof canvas lining. The next thing that you're going to need to do is grab a tape measure. You're going to want to take your tape measure and start on one end and very carefully just kind of going around the corners just like that till you've gone all the way to the next corner. So I know that it's 25 inches to go all the way around. That's how I'm going to get my zipper gusset measurement. I'm going to cut my zipper gusset out in 1.5 by 25.5. You've got to add that 1/2 inch to your outside measurement so that you can attach your bottom, because you're going to need 1/4 inch here and 1/4 inch here. So I cut mine out 25.5, that way I have that measurement. I went ahead and I cut my foam to 25.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and I think she wanted her main gusset to be 3 inches. This should work out. If not, I'll let you know. Editing phase will put up the measurements. You should make it. But it should be 1.5 by 25.5, and everybody's book bag measurements are going to differ, so you're just going to have to measure to be able to get it right. But mine is going to be 25.5. I went ahead and I've got my zipper. I'm not putting my zipper on yet. I'm just going to go ahead and add my zipper in. I went ahead and I also cut lining for my outer zipper gussets, and I went ahead, instead of base stitching this on, I went ahead and just kind of interface and fuse them together, and that just saves me another step. Alright, now that we've got our outer zipper gusset panel and our lining to our zipper gusset panel, we're going to need to go ahead and make our zipper sandwich. If you've never made a zipper sandwich before, this is the way we do it. We're going to take right side of one side of our zipper gusset to the right side of our zipper, just like that. And then you're just going to clip all the way down. Now that that's done, we're going to take one of our lining pieces and we're going to put it right side to the wrong side of our zipper and add that to our zipper sandwich. And then we're going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew down this side of my zipper. So I'm attaching this right here to my zipper sandwich. So sew down 1/4 inch. And then what I normally do is I take my lining and my outer panel and I pull them away from my zipper and I base stitch everything closed. I'm going to take you to the sewing machine so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, just like we did on this side, we're going to be putting the outer piece that we have that is interfaced with our foam right side to the right side of the zipper. We're going to clip all the way down. So I've got everything clipped up. Alright, let's take our lining right side to the wrong side of our zipper, and then you're just going to add that to our little zipper sandwich. And then we're going to take this to the sewing machine and do the exact same thing that we just did on the other side. You're going to sew down 1/4 inch down the zipper so that your upper and your lining fabric are all connected. And then you'll open them up and then base stitch the sides like I did. So let's go do that. So our zipper gusset is all done, and before we go any further, because this is where a lot of us forget to put our zipper pull on, so we're going to do that now before we forget. And it really doesn't matter which side right now you put it on. So you're going to separate your zipper. I am using number 5 zipper tape, by the way. I completely failed to mention that. So I've got number 5 zipper and a number 5 zipper pull. You spread this apart like that, and then this end right here, we're going to put the left side in first, and then we're going to put the right side in. And what you're going to do is you're going to push it down until you see that the zipper tape is nice and even right here. When it's nice and even right there, you're good. If one side is sticking up a little higher than the other side, then you need to take your zipper pull off and try again. But that is perfect because K&A's zipper pulls go on so easy. Alright, next up. So I went ahead and I measured across our bottom, and that is 7.5. So I made my bottom piece 8, and that way I have my seam allowance on each side. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to grab the bottom, and we're going to put right side to right side. Again, it doesn't matter which direction the print is facing because it's not going to stay that way. And I'm just going to clip these together real quick. And then this is going to be my lining. So I'm going to take my lining piece to the right side to right side of my other lining piece. Now I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and I am going to stitch across here at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Alright, so I sewed 1/4 inch all the way across. The next thing you're going to want to do is take your outside panel and your inside lining and pull them away from your zipper. And then what we're going to do is called top stitching. 1/8 inch away from this little bump right here, you're going to top stitch across there so that your bottom panel and your lining panel stay away from your zipper panel. Alright, so here's where it gets a little hairy. I have top stitched across there, like so. The next thing you're going to do is take this top piece, or your bottom gusset, and put it to the other end of your zipper gusset. Easy, right? It's the next part that's hard. Go ahead and clip those together like that. Then this lining right here has to go on the back side of this. So if you wanted to, you could go ahead and base stitch 1/8 of an inch across just to hold this in place if you're worried about it. But you're going to need to take this piece right here and make them come together so that the back side of your zipper and your lining are touching each other. And then you're going to do just like you did a minute ago. You're going to sew across there 1/4 of an inch and then open it up and top stitch it. It'll come together. Just make sure that your lining's facing the right way and that your bottom is facing the right way. Alright, so I kept the clips on so I could show you guys what it was going to look like. Then what you're going to do is you're going to open it up like this, and your outside panel should look like that. Your inside lining should look like that. If they got turned around and messed up, you're going to have to redo it, but it should end up like that. Now, with the herd of elephants downstairs, what I'm going to do is I need to top stitch across this edge, but I'm also going to base stitch the bottom gusset to the bottom gusset lining, just so that they're kind of one piece, just like the zipper is. So I will take you to the sewing machine and show you how I do that. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to sew down here, across here, back down over here, and then that'll just make our gusset into one piece. Alright, so I've got my stitch length at a 4. Normally whenever I want to base stitch something, I use a 4 stitch length. So I'm just going to go down this side, stop 1/8 of an inch away from that edge, go across where my zipper is, put my needle down. It's really important when you want to move things around, make sure that you put your needle down first. And then I'm just going to go down that other side. Okay, now it's all base stitched together. Alright, so we've got our front and our back all ready to go. We have got our gusset. This is what is going to attach our front and back to. The next thing that we're going to need to do is the little side belt so that it kind of stays on their little tummy. So what I did was, she wanted them to be 8 wide or 8 long to go around her tummy. So I made them 8.5. And then she wanted them to be 4.5 tall, so I made them into 5 tall. Again, because of seam allowance. I cut 2 of those for my outer and then 2 of those for my lining. The next thing that I had to do were the straps. She wanted them to be 1.5 inches wide, so I made them 2. Then she wanted them to be 8 long, tall. I made them 8.5. So I've got my outer and then I've got my lining. Let's do the straps first. So I'm going to take one of my straps outers with one of my lining and put them right sides together. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and then I'm going to sew down this side and make sure that when you're starting and when you're stopping, you're back stitching. Then I'm going to go down this side 1/4 of an inch, making sure to back stitch here, coming down, and back stitch there. Do that to both of your straps. Alright, so I turned these inside out, and then I went ahead and top stitched down both of the sides just so that they'll lay nice and flat. Next thing we got to do is we got to grab those side pieces, and they're going to be facing each other when they go to flap like this. So what I need to do is look and see. She wants them 2.5 inches away from the from where they connect to the book bag. So this is where the book bag is going to be. 1, 2.5. And then you're going to want to make sure that when your flaps flap up like that, that the fabric is facing the right way. I'm going to go ahead and clip that together. Then on this side, you're going to do the same exact thing, just opposite. So I've got 1, 2.5. Okay, that's going to be upside down. We don't want to do that. for your first one, I would probably do one that doesn't have a direction on the fabric. It'd be a whole heck of a lot easier. Alright, now that we've got that situated, the next thing you're going to do is grab your lining pieces. And we're going to start on this side. Alright, there's one side. Go ahead and do that to the other side. So what I normally do is just kind of tuck the straps in, and then we'll turn it through this side. We're going to make sure that the side that touches the backpack is the side that we're going to turn it inside out of, so you're going to want to leave that side open on each end. So let's go to the sewing machine, and then we'll just sew around those three sides. Alright, so I sewed around all three sides using it like a 2.5 stitch length. I'm looking for my scissors, and so for some reason they keep disappearing. Alright, now I'm going to cut off the corners before I turn it inside out. Don't touch your stitching, your final stitching. This is my base stitching right here, and the second one is my final stitching. Cut across the corners, but don't get your stitching. Then I'm going to turn this inside out. And make sure to get those corners poked out. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and then I'm just going to top stitch all the way around, about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, go around, down, and around. I'm going to do that to both of my sides, and then we can do the fun job of adding the Velcro. Alright, so now that we've got this all top stitched and ready to go, I need to figure out the placement for the Velcro. I want to make sure that this is going, all of the book bag pieces are going in the right spots that Mama wants them to go into. So she wants the scratchy side of Velcro to go on this one. So I took my Velcro and I went ahead and just kind of measured it. It doesn't have to go all the way across. You definitely do not want it in your seam allowance, so I make them a little shorter. I went ahead and I put some double-sided tape there as well, just to make it a little bit easier for when I go to place all of this. So I'm going to take my paper off of my double-sided tape, and you can measure and make sure that everything is going to be completely symmetrical. I just kind of eyeball it. I'm going to get my other one. You're going to put both of the scratchy sides on this side. The only thing you do want to make sure of is that the beginning of the Velcros and the end of the Velcros meet up. And I'm also leaving space right here because I'm going to be adding those little buttons there. So you've got your edges here, right? You got your edges. Flip this one over because you want them to be opposite, so that when your belt goes in the front, I'll show you in just a second, they'll meet up. Because if you've got them on both the same sides, they're not going to Velcro together. Okay, there we go. So now, when she goes to do the belt, you'll have itchy on this side, soft on this side, so that when they meet up in the front, because this is the front edge and this is the front edge, it'll meet up like that and your Velcro will meet. So when you're doing your Velcro, you want to have the part that's going to connect to your book bag back. This side on this opposite side is going to get the Velcro. This side is going to get the top. I hope that makes sense. Alright, so now we're going to do our snaps. Snaps are really easy. I used to do these all the time on cloth diapers, and it will really make this strap stay on her little tummy so she's not escaping. Alright, what we're going to do is on the sides where the Velcro is, that is where you're going to put the main part of your snaps. So you've got your cap, and it's got a flat part and then kind of a pointy edge on one side. You've got the pieces and the names are not coming to me, but you have basically got your male end and then your female end. I'm going to go ahead and do 4. I think 4 would be along here would be perfect. Not too much, not too little. So that's what I'm going to do. All of my male end is going to go down this side. Now you can measure them out and do like an inch apart or whatever you want to do. That's fine. I am going to center it in between my Velcro a little bit after where it starts. I'm going to put the cap on the back side and push it up through my fabric. Then I'm going to grab one of my male ends, and the male end should be facing up. Then you're going to take your little tool, and I know you guys can't see what I'm doing, but I'm basically squashing the cap and the male end together so that they're one piece. Then I'm going to go down a little ways, and I'm going to make sure that it's centered, and I'm going to do my next snap. And you're just going to do that all the way down your one side until you use up all 4. And it is kind of weird the further along you get, but I would go ahead and put my snaps on before I sew my straps and everything else on, because it'll be really difficult to do it later. So that's why I like to go ahead and just do it now, and that way it's done. And again, you can measure this so that they're evenly dispersed. But I kind of have a good eye for this. So I'm just going to do it kind of freehand. You could get like one of those erasable marking pens and mark your spots. Okay. Alright, now we need these to match up with these. So I want to make sure that I'm telling you right. Yes. Alright, we're going to take the male end, and however much space I put between each of these is what I need to do on the female side. What you can do is you can take this side and do it face to face with the other side so that you make sure that you're right where you want to be, and then you can feel with your finger your snap. Again, you can measure these out to make sure that they're just right. Yep. And then I'm just going to do that all the way down. Alright, so I went ahead and I moved the flap down to make sure that all the snaps met no matter where the flap was at. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab our panel that's going to be on their back. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this, and about 1 inch from the bottom, you're going to clip that open side, the side that has your open seam. And I'm going to clip that in place, and then I'm going to do the next on the next side. Now, the next part what we're going to do is we're going to need to find the center. I probably should have done this before I clipped everything together, but that's okay. We're going to make a little clip. So I know right where the center is. And then what I like to do is about 1.5 inches-ish away from my clip, which is right there, about 1.5 inches or so, I'm going to put this at kind of an angle so that it's not all up on their necks and their throats, it'll be out of the way. No matter where the belt, no matter how the belt is buckled, it'll be going away from their necks. So just like that, we're going to go to the sewing machine. I'm going to base stitch that, down this side, and then down this side, so that this is all one piece. Alright, so we got everything base stitched in place, so it's on our front panel. I went ahead and trimmed up my corners, and then I'm going to set that aside. We're going to grab our inside piece. This side is the side that kind of velcros together so that you hold the nutrients bag in place on the inside of the bag. So I have got 4 pieces that are 2 by 4, and then I've got 2 pieces of foam that are also 2 by 4. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take two of the pieces right side together and 1 piece of foam and make them one big sandwich. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch down this way, across the bottom, and then back up again. And that will create, we'll turn this inside out, and then we'll add our Velcro, and then it'll create our little catch to carry the nutrients bag. So I'm going to sew that real quick. I'm going to be using a 2.5 stitch length and 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. If ever in doubt, chances are good it's going to be 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, everything that I go to do. Alright, let's go sew that. Alright, so I have got them all sewn. The next thing that I'm going to do again is cut off the corners so they'll be a little bit easier to turn inside out, and the corners will lay nice and flat. So you can take this to your sewing machine and you can top stitch around the edge if you want. I'm going to go ahead, and I've got my hook and loop Velcro. I'm going to measure it out. You don't want this in your seams, but I want it to the edge, not quite to the edge, but like 1/8 of an inch from the edge. And I want to leave about 1/2 an inch there. So I'm going to go and I'm going to sew one on at a time. So the softer loop side is going to go on this one, and the scratchy side is going to go on that one when I turn it inside out. So I'm going to go sew that. Alright, we're getting somewhere. I have my straps for your nutrients bag. I'm going to go ahead, I just went ahead and sewed in my Velcro. I didn't top stitch, I just went ahead and did the Velcro, and that's fine. We're going to take our very front panel that's going to be on their back. So you should see the little belts and everything. What we're going to do is from that center point, we're going to put one right next to the center point, and then the other one you're going to turn it backwards so that both Velcros don't need to be facing out. One of them needs to be facing in. Like that. And I'm going to take that to the sewing machine and I'm going to base that in place. When you've base stitched that in place, they're going to go like this to hold that nutrients bag in place. So let me go do that. We're so close, guys. We're so close. So we're going to get the very, very back panel, the one that's going to face out when they're wearing it. And we're going to grab a 7-inch thing of webbing. This is just so that Mom can hang it up whenever she wants to and not have to worry about it being on the floor or anything like that. I made a center mark. You want to go ahead and make that center mark so that when we put our gusset on, it'll be a lot easier to do. Next thing you're going to do is 1 inch from that center mark, go ahead and place one end of your webbing, and then we're going to measure from the center over 1 inch and place the other end of your webbing. And it should look something like that. We're going to go base stitch this in place. We've got our back panel all finished, our front panel all finished, and we've got our zipper gusset all finished. We're ready to go. The next thing that we need to do is, dependent upon your pump and how all of that works, you're going to have to figure out which side the zipper is going to need to go on. So for her, the zipper is going to need to come all the way down on this side, and that needs to be, so I've got my wrong side out. So if you're ever in doubt about if your zipper is facing the right way or not. You can always just clip a little bit and then like turn it inside out and make sure that it's doing what you want it to do. So I nailed it the first time. Did I make center marks in this? No. Okay, so I'm going to unclip this. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the bottom two parts, the edges right there, and then we're going to go all the way up here. You can make a notch or you can make a little mark. You can put a pin in there. It's up to you. But we're going to do that on both sides. And then we're also going to do that down at the bottom so that we can line up our center marks. Alright, now, so my zipper is closing this way and opening this way, so I am going to make sure that it's on this side of the backpack. I'm going to match up my top notches first, and then I'm going to go down to the bottom and match those notches up, and then you just kind of didn't do a middle notch in this one either. Did I? Nope. And then you're just going to clip all the way around. With your bag facing like this, you're going to take it to the sewing machine, and 1/8 of an inch all the way around, we're just going to base stitch these two layers in place. We will do the 1/4 inch when we go to do the binding all the way around. Alright, so I used white thread so you can see that I've base stitched my gusset in place. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use our binding. So what I did was I got a 1 inch by the length of my binding to use as my binding. You can use cotton woven and just fold it up into itself to make it binding. It's up to you. Waterproof canvas, I went ahead and trimmed the edge after I folded it together so that when I press this down and then fold this over, I'm getting rid of all of that bulk that would be in my seam. Now, I'm going to start at the very, very top. Normally when I do this in bags, I start at the top because you're going to be overlapping your waterproof canvas over itself to kind of finish off your seam to your binding, and normally you don't see it in the top of your bag. So I'm going to start at the top, and then I'm going to clip all the way around, and then I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and 1/4 of an inch I'm going to sew this binding on. Don't be afraid of binding, just make sure that when you're putting it on, you're getting it evenly distributed on the front and the back, so that when you sew 1/4 of an inch, you'll be getting both sides. And when in doubt, just make sure that you check your work before you think that you're finished. Make sure that both sides have both been caught when you're sewing them. So I'm going to finish this, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. Alright, so I have got my binding on, so my back is attached, and if you want, now you could check and just make sure that the zipper is closing on the side that you need it to, and it is. Just checking my artwork over there to make sure we're good. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this front. This is going to be a little harder because of all of this on there, but we're going to have to just kind of work around it. Make sure that you have got a center notch in the bottom, and you should have a center notch already at the top. Then what I'm going to do is just match everything up, just like I did the other side. We're going to take this to the sewing machine at 1/8 of an inch and base stitch the two layers together, and then we'll bind it just like we did the other side. Alright, so I've got it all stitched, ready to go. I went ahead and turned it inside out. You can see that you've got your little straps on the back where their back is going to be. and the zipper is on the right side where Mama needs it to be. The next thing Mama asked me for was a strap to go across here. Now, you don't really need this. If your child is older, this belly band is going to be enough, but Mama just wants to make sure that this stays on in case this baby is an escape artist too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the strap that's going to go across here, and what I've done is I've measured from this corner to this corner. It was about 6.5 inches. So I made mine, I believe, 7 inches, just to make sure I've got plenty. The foam will kind of make it squish up a little bit. So I have got a piece that's 7.5 by 4, and then 7.5 by 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it over so that it's 2 inches this way. I'm going to put the foam and the piece together like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew around this, but I'm going to leave an opening. So right here in the center, I'm going to leave it open so that I can turn this inside out. And I will show you why in just a second. So let's go sew that. Alright, so that's how I sewed it. Next thing I'm going to do is on all the corners, I'm just going to snip. I'm not going to grab my thread. I'm not going to accidentally cut that because then I'll have to re-sew everything. But I just want to make it a little bit easier for it to turn inside out. Now in this hole, we're going to take the 2 fabrics that are right sides together, and then we're going to fold it inside out like this. I'm just going to get those points out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this foam and this fabric 1/4 inch in like that, and then I'm going to top stitch all the way around so that my hole is closed and my little piece is top stitched. So I'm going to go do that. Now we're going to get our snaps back out. So I've got a bunch of caps to go with all of my other pieces. I've got a couple male ends. I'm going to get a couple female ends. And what you're going to need to do is the strap that you're putting across the body needs to be either male or female, but that's the only ones you're going to be doing is the ones that go across. So I'm going to put one right in the center, kind of off to the side. I'm going to put the cap so that the cap is in the front. So I'm going to call this the front because that was really great placement. Yeah, we'll put Pikachu up front. Alright, I'm going to put the cap on the front, and then I'm going to do a male one. And the rest of the ones that are going on my bag are going to be female so that they can be moved around. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this semi-close together. It's a little bit easier to figure out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this strap edge to edge, and then I'm going to feel with my finger and put my awl into that spot. My cap is going to go through the back, and my female end is going to go through the front, so that my snaps meet up. Alright, and then I always like to double check my snaps and make sure that I've done them enough. Alright, now I know you guys are having a hard time seeing this, but I'm just going to place the strap straight across, and again take my awl. I want to make sure that they're straight. So I'm going to put it in there like that. And then I'm just going to put a couple in. I don't really think that I need more than one, but I want her to be able to adjust it if she wants to. So I know that wasn't my typical thing that I do, but I know that there's a lot of mamas who have already contacted me. I shared a picture of the little G2 book bags on K&A's, and they contacted me and they're like, can I get the pattern? Can I figure it out? It's all free, guys. I'm going to show you guys where to measure and all of that in the video, and that way you guys can make your own little ones book bags, because I know how much this mom has really appreciated these book bags and being able to have a peace of mind that their children can run around and not have to have alarms going off and all of that stuff. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. I will check those, and I will do my best to help you guys out in any way that I can. If you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like, or if you want to subscribe and hang around and see some of the other crazy stuff that I make, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Or if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. I do check those daily. And if you haven't checked out K&A Custom Fabrics, that's where all of this fabric came from. This was actually one of our book bag panels, and the mom fell in love with it and wanted her G2 book bag to be made out of it. So I purchased that, and then the extra coordinating fabric to go along with it. Thanks for joining us again on Faith Works Designs. Bye, guys.